Hey everybody, welcome to Elseworlds Exchange. I'm Sal, and I am joined today by Jason Inman. Jason, welcome to the show, man.
Thank you, man. I'm so excited to be back. Elseworlds Exchange is one of my favorite, if not, I think, you know what? It's my favorite. I'm going to say it right now.
Why not? Next time.
It's my favorite comic book show on the internet, man, so I'm happy to be back here.
Well, you're one of my favorite, you know what? I'm going to say it, favorite guests we've ever had on the show.
Look at you.
Yeah, there we go. But Jason, listen, not only are you very knowledgeable in comics, but you also work on them yourself. You make them yourself. You have also produced a celebrated series, Jupiter Jet. There's another installment coming, and I want you to just tell everybody all about it because I'm really hyped about it, and I want them to go get it as soon as they can.
Yeah, thank you, dude. Yes, I write and co-write Jupiter Jet, which is a Ringo-nominated all-ages adventure comic published through Action Lab with my wife, Ashley Victoria Robinson. And we're coming back with a sequel because the one thing that we've been asked about for the last 2 years has been, when is Jupiter Jet coming back? When is Jupiter Jet coming back? Because if you read Volume 1, there was a heck of a huge cliffhanger, which I will not spoil here.
No.
But it's called Jupiter Jet and the Forgotten Radio. It's going to be live on Kickstarter about now. Should be live. You go there right now to jupiterjetcomic.com. And basically, now Jupiter Jet is 17 years old. In the first story, she was 16. We age her up each year. And she's been keeping her city safe for about the last year. Her flying skills are unmatched, and the city loves her. She's their favorite hero. But she's yearning to do a lot more. She wants to soar across the solar system. She wants to free the human race from the alien race called the Praetors, which are her nemesis. And not even her little brother, her sidekick's discovery of a long-forgotten radio can change her mind. She just yearns to do more, man. But then this mysterious black flyer shows up who also has a jetpack.
Oh.
And it threatens her world. And she finds out that even though she's the best hero in Olympic Heights, her city, she may not be the best hero in the solar system.
Oh, man. That's fun.
So,
yeah,
so she has to find out.
Bigger.
Exactly. So she has to discover that, it takes more than just putting the jetpack on your back to be a hero. And we're going to expand her world. And we're very excited by this story. And we're rejoined by our amazing artist, Ben Matsuda, and our amazing colorist. We have a new colorist in this book, Liz Kramer, who worked on Going to the Chapel.
Ooh.
And then the wonderful best letterer in comics, Taylor Esposito, is joining us again. And we have a lot of great rewards over on our Kickstarter. And because we're doing it through Kickstarter, because even though this book will be published through Action Lab, independent comics cost money. And independent comics are all about love, because any book that's not made through Marvel and DC, basically the writer or the artist has to create the living wage that all the other collaborators need to survive. Ben, our artist, has to spend 8 hours a day every single day drawing all 5 issues of this book. He can't do any other jobs if he's working on this book. So we want to make sure that Ben can pay his rent, and that's the reason why we go to Kickstarter.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. No, comics are expensive, man. Self-published and independent published comics are... Don't get in the game if you're trying to make money. You're just doing it because you love books.
They're true labors of love, and we want Jupiter Jet to continue. We had so much fun on the first one. Everybody out there loved it. I mean, the Ringo Awards nominated us for it, and we want to do 5 volumes. So this would be volume 2 of the Jupiter Jet saga.
Yeah.
With the idea that we want to take Jackie, our main character, who's Jupiter Jet, all the way to when she's 21, and we have a lot of great rewards over there. We have a lot of great perks. Because we're so much about educating about comic books. We love doing script reviews. So if you're out there, you're listening to this, you're like, I want to make my own comic book, then you can have your comic book script or your screenplay, the first 20 pages of it, read by some professionals, including David M. Bohr, who wrote IDW's Canto. And then the big one is we have Joseph Malozzi, who is the creator of Dark Matter, and he was an executive producer on Stargate SG-1, Stargate Atlantis, and Stargate Universe.
Nice.
So, that's one you can get. And then we have a couple, if you're an artist, we have, Mitch Gerrits from the upcoming Strange Adventures is going to do some portfolio reviews.
Yeah.
Steve Lieber is going to do a portfolio review for us. We have all kinds of stuff like that, including cool stuff like a print from Nicholas Scott, a print from John Boy Myers, and then, you can get cameos. You can buy a cameo to be in Jupiter Jet. But anyways, enough jibber-jabber. I love this comic book. I hope you guys love this comic book. It's an all age. We're trying to make the comic books that anybody can read. The 4-year-old and your 94-year-old grandma. They can both enjoy it. It's all. When I say all ages, it's not dumb.
No.
It's all ages in terms of fun. So Jupiter Jet and the Forgotten Radios should be on Kickstarter right now. JupiterJetComic.com. It's down in the description. Go click on that link. It's all over my Twitter at Johnwin, and we hope you come along.
That's right. Yeah, and definitely check the description because it's the first link you'll find, and there's a lot more goodies down there too. Check it out. But yeah, so Jason, number one, congratulations on working on this book because not only is it fun and great, but also it's an expression of who you are, and it's a thing you can hold in your hands. It's just incredible.
Man, it's important. Thank you, dude.
No problem. We're going to talk about DC and what they're doing in the near future.
Something you can't hold in your hands.
That's right. Something that's ethereal. Something that's tangential. It's over there, but it will be here shortly. That's right. 5G is coming, and no, we're not talking about the signal on your phone. Apparently, we're talking about
not for everybody yet.
That's right. We're talking about this initiative, this new period in DC that they've been teasing that cropped up a couple of times in books you wouldn't have expected. Like it came up in Doomsday Clock, as a matter of fact. They teased the 5G period. And what is 5G? What's that all about? Well, if you read Bleeding Cool, they've been talking about it since at least December.
They apparently know all of it.
And they apparently have all this information, which we can neither confirm nor deny. No. But we thought we'd go down the list of like all the stuff they've kind of teased and talked about what it means and whether or not that's like a really an exciting position for DC to be going in. Because DC's made a lot of interesting decisions over the last couple of years. And I kind of dig some of them. Like I loved Rebirth. I think a lot of people were on board for Rebirth.
Rebirth, man, is solid. Weirdly, I kind of think Rebirth might be one of my favorite DC periods.
Yeah, I think you're right. Now, here's a question for you about Rebirth. Would it feel as exciting if New 52 didn't happen?
Oh.
Because I think it's a reaction.
Okay. Let's think about this. What if Rebirth was the thing that happened in 2011, not the New 52? Okay. What if let's just go into our mind box here and let's think about what if they had rebooted all the titles back to one. I think you had to do that. I think you had to reboot all the titles back to one.
Well, I think financially speaking, no one will agree that was a bad idea.
Yes. And I think digital comics was the great idea as well. Yes. Day and date digital, which DC spearheaded.
Yep.
I think it would have been. I think without the New 52, I think Rebirth would have had the same effect. Like I really do. Because imagine you're reading DC Comics in 2011. In 2011, Superman and Lois are married, but they don't have a son.
Right.
And what if in the reboot they were like, no, they do?
Oh. Yeah,
and so you'd be like, what? Because to me, that was the exciting thing about Superman Rebirth was that Superman has a kid, man. Yeah.
That's like emblematic of the Rebirth era. I mean, people would like to talk about Wally West being kind of like the representation of Rebirth, but I think it's John. I think John's the avatar of Rebirth.
It's the super son. Yes, it's the super family, which, by the way, CW, I know you're watching right now. You should call that show Superman Family, not Superman and Lois. Just throwing it out there.
Yeah,
please use that title.
Superman Family, not only was that a book, but also Superman and Lois sounds too much like Lois and Clark, The New Adventures of Superman.
It does.
And you don't need to draw parallels to that. Although I will say, I think Terry Hatcher, best on-screen Lois Lane.
I'm an Erica Durance dude.
Oh, yeah. She's fair.
But Terry Hatcher is strong. She's a strong actress.
She's one of my favorites. I was just like, wow. She's just that attitude and wit, the haircut, it all worked.
Do you think we needed the quote unquote darkness of the New 52 to really make DC Rebirth an impact?
Yes.
How did it feel?
I think Rebirth is. It's funny because DC's kind of just been reacting, as opposed to making strong decisions. It's kind of oh, what are they doing? New 52 is a reaction to the comic book sales not doing well and them being let's make some money. Let's figure out how we can make DC relevant, put them back on the map, so to speak, despite the fact that and everybody always says this and I always say it, but it's funny how I'm always proven wrong where I'm Batman, Superman, Wonder Woman, they're three of the 5 most popular superheroes of all time anywhere. They're the avatars that represent the superhero. Why don't they sell? And it's like, yeah, New 52 is a great reaction that says like, hey, that's a good question. Why not buy them right now and find out? Because like here's a new direction, and we're going to start at zero. But at the same time, it's like it's like a reaction to sales, and so New 52 darkness and the other problem was, of course, they got away from themselves. No structure, no roadmap. You got to have a roadmap. You got to have a plan. And I think with Rebirth, not only was it a great reaction to New 52, being like, let's bring in some optimism, some excitement, some continuity, but it's also a plan. There was, I think there was a plan in place for Rebirth, where they're like, Rebirth is going to go in this direction, and then it's going to make a hard left into Doomsday Clock, and then we're going to do this.
Now, the problem, I think, though, with that is that, Doomsday Clock... I mean, here's the thing. Yeah. We knew right from the very beginning when they named Doomsday Clock. I love Gary Frank. I think he's one of the best artists out there. Right. He is not a monthly artist. And we knew right out the gate... I knew right out the gate from issue 1 when... I remember when I interviewed Jeff Johns at New York Comic Con when they showed the first issue of Doomsday Clock. Yeah. It was really cool. Yeah. I knew right at the gate, because I asked him, I was like, how far ahead is Gary? And he was like, Gary's drawing issue 4. And I was like, this book's going to be late. Like, this book's going to be so late. He needs to be on issue 8.
Right. That's fair. Well, at the same time, I'm like, man, when they announced Doomsday Clock, I'm like, so how long has this been written? It's had to have been written at least a year, right? And if it's a year, you're going to get Gary Frank on board, because it's Jeff Johns, like, 1-2 punch.
Yeah.
It's a dream team, and also having now completed Doomsday Clock, you look at Gary Frank's art and you're like, thank God, because I don't know anyone else who would have really slam dunked this book the way he did.
That's also the strength of Doomsday Clock, I think.
Oh, absolutely.
Is Gary Frank's art. That's the best thing in that book.
It's like 60-40, 50-50. Like, it's not like one or the other. It's the art in that book is second to none. It's one of the it's one of the best looking DC comics of the last several years.
Oh yeah.
But I'm saying, like, you got a year at least of this plan. You have Gary draw that now and just pay him out of pocket. You're Jeff Johns. You can afford it. You know what I mean? It's like, it reminds me, actually, I was reading...
Don't even solicit the book.
No, that's what I'm saying.
Until it's done.
Keep it down. Because what are they going to do? What's DC going to do? Not publish it? You have 11 or 10 issues of a 12-issue series that brings Watchmen in the DC universe and irrevocably changes the status quo, but for the better, and they're not going to publish it? Well, then all you do is slap a black label sticker on it, and you're ready to go.
The last thing, the last thing I want to say, because there's an aspect of 5G I really want to talk about. I really want to get to. The last thing I want to say about Doomsday Clock is that, do you remember that weird period? We had this weird period when Doomsday Clock first delayed.
Yeah.
And they were talking to other writers, and I think it was like right as Bendis was coming to DC.
Yes.
And there were all these interviews, and they were like, where will this lead? Where will this do anything? And it was even Tom King of Batman. They were like, where will this go?
Yeah.
And their answer was, well, Doomsday Clock will eventually answer that.
Yes.
And you were like, guys, we can't exist in this weird limbo time.
Right. Like, we can't be kicking the can down the road. And I know that they weren't. Like, the fact that,
Yeah, because I'll put this out there. I have no information on this at all. I have no confirmation on this. This is just a feeling that I get from reading the books.
Yes.
There is no way in heck that the Legion of Superheroes that we are currently seeing in Legion of Superheroes was going to be the same Legion 2 years ago.
No, absolutely not.
Because you can just look at how Jeff Johns was introducing like Saturn Girl and things over here and things over here. Like, so like I actually was surprised when I was reading Doomsday Clock and I saw the Bendis Legion. I was like, whoa, this is not where you were going at all. Like, you were suggesting that these were the actual Legion and they were lost through time because of Dr. Manhattan and stuff. But we saw Bendis Legion in there, and that the Legion that we've been seeing since Rebirth are remnants of an old timeline somehow. Right? Hyper time.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah. No, it was just trying. I think it was just trying to like mitigate the delays, and I think it's also just kind of like, so like it's Bendis being Bendis, man. It's if you're a superstar writer, if you're brought on board, you're not gonna go like, oh, hey, listen, don't do whatever you were gonna do or whatever you want to do because so and so over here, we regard them as much as you, right? I mean, remember when Final Crisis came about, And Grant Morrison was like, please, whatever you do, I'm leading up to Final Crisis, please, whatever you do, don't use the New Gods. Just don't use the New Gods.
Yeah.
And then what do they do like 2-3 months before the Final Crisis launch?
Death of the New Gods.
Death of the New Gods. I'm like, oh my God. And if they're
That
willing
step book is so bad.
I know. I mean, like, thankfully nobody cared, but at the same time, like, but what if it was a breakout success? They would be like, well, I guess we'll just, because it wasn't like they were going to tell Grant Morrison no, so they were just going to be this contradictory book.
Yeah.
But if they're willing to screw over Grant Morrison, then no one is untouchable over there.
So, in terms of 5G,
yes,
there's one thing that I'm super excited about.
Okay.
And I want them to publish this in a giant book or a giant poster, because when they announced this one thing, I was like, or when this is actually one of the few things they've announced. The timeline.
The timeline is essential.
The DC timeline, because like I have been saying, it's funny, and I even said this in the building when I worked at DC, and I said this to many people. I even think I said it to Dan DiDio once or twice. I was like, this was in the New 52. This was pre-Rebirth, and I said to him, I was like, we need a who's who in the DC universe.
Yeah.
Like we need this. Like as a comic fan
series or something that just tells you where
What's
everybody
the
is.
DC? Yeah. Is that the DC version of Who's Who? Is it Secret Origins?
That's it. Secret Origins was the DC book. I have several issues that, like, literally, I remember being a kid and being like, I wonder what the story is with so and so and what's his name. And I have a Secret Origin that literally is like, here's a 4-page rundown of who they are, where they were, and what's going on.
Yeah,
and I'm like,
because
thank you.
Yeah, because I like when you can see there's those videos out there where Dan is in front of a poster of some type, and it looks like that's their timeline, and you can see the like little thumbnails for the captions for the events, the giant comic book event. I want to publish that. Let us see that, because I think that's cool. I think it's something all of us have been asking for a long time. Yeah. But there's also a downside with that, because the other rumor that is out there is that all of our main DC heroes are going to be aged up. We're sort of going to do instead of a 1 year later like DC did after Infinite Crisis, we're going to do maybe a 10 years later?
Yeah.
Or something. Like, so now Superman and Batman are going to be like 55.
Right.
They're going to be old men. That's something I don't know. I don't know if I want a time jump.
No.
Like, when... I don't... What do you think about this?
It's funny because it sounds like... Because I remember hearing a lot of, like, not rumors, but more like, when you read New 52, they're like, clearly our bread and butter are the main heroes, and we got to make them young and relevant and hip, right? That's what every big 2 publisher is chasing. The young
gotta give them battle armor.
Yeah, gotta give them, like, puffy necks and, like, a little piping, and, but make them young, make them relatable, and, reset their timelines, make them younger. Get like marginalized sidekicks because they make them look older, right? Mm-hmm. And now it looks like they're embracing the actually Batman. If we were just to assume that Dick Grayson is 25, which I'm sure he's actually older, but let's assume it's 25.
My perfect Dick Grayson is 30 years old.
He has to be. He's at least as old as Peter Parker, who should
my brief argument for that is that I think Dick should spend more time with Batman than any of the other Robins.
Right.
And for me, I think Dick is with Batman from like 10 to 20.
Yeah.
Or like 8 to 18. Like, to me, Dick spends a decade. And I apologize for interrupting you.
No, not at all. No. That's the show.
But okay, so you think your Dick is 25?
Right. Well, at least 25. Like, he's got to be. He's got to be a man who can pay his own taxes, right? Like, so it's like,
yes.
But Dick Grayson, if he's 25, then that means that Bruce has got to be at least 40.
Yes. Yeah. It's funny, dude. We should have you on for one of these. We did one of these on Geek History Lesson, my podcast, on Apple Podcasts, everybody. Gotta do the plugs.
Right, of course.
People complain about them. You gotta do the plugs.
Yeah, APP. Always.
Sal, what's your Twitter?
Sal says what?
See, there you go. Plug it out there, baby.
That's right.
Anyways, we did an episode called Our Batman Chronological Timeline.
Oh, that's
and we did this it was requested by a fan, and it was a fun episode to do, but it was actually super hard.
Right.
So the idea was track Batman's entire history in real time.
Yeah. And
our conclusion was, and it was funny because me and my co-host actually made Batman the exact same age.
Yeah. Okay.
And our chronological timeline in current DCU time, Batman's 45.
Right.
And we like, and it's funny because I gave Dick Grayson like 10 years being Robin.
Yep.
I think I started Bruce at 25.
Okay.
Like I was like year one is Bruce is 25, because there's a lot of stories out there where sometimes Bruce goes to college.
Yeah.
But also I was very like, well, Batman needs like 7 or 8 years out in the world training.
Yeah, exactly. No, he needs because when he it's not like Bruce comes back to Gotham, goes to the alley, gets stabbed by a hooker, and then and then leaves again and keeps training. Like he gets all the information he needs overseas, all in one like kind of collegiate shot.
And people also thought that he was dead, so he has to be gone for quite a bit of time. So. And I think we gave like Dick 10 years. I think we gave like Jason had one year before he was dead.
I would give him 1 because it's supposed to be a mistake. The whole with Jason Todd, he's a mistake.
And then I think we gave Tim like 5 years.
I'll give him 5. I give him 3 because
so our end ages. I think we made like Nightwing was 30.
Yep.
Jason Todd was like I think 25.
Okay.
And then we made Tim Drake. He had just turned 20. So like he was just because like I like the idea that he's sort of in his teenage years, but like he's adultish.
Yes.
And then I think we made Damian's 13. So because that's the other tracker is you have to figure out like when was Damian born?
Yeah. And the Damian thing is complicated because like he's not even technically a conventional birth. So the reality is like you can always, that's the thing you can funge with Damian.
Well, they put that in there to explain the timeline shenanigans, which I'm fine with. But to me, I'm like, no, he was like, I don't like this idea that Damian's sort of like an advanced genetic clone.
Right. I hate that idea too. But for me, like, my eyes glaze over whenever you bring up Damian anyway, because I'm like, Damian's a usurper. Get him out of here.
Oh man, I love Damian just because of Grant Morrison's Batman and Robin run.
Right.
Where you flipped it, Happy Batman, Angry Robin, but right. Damian's going to be our Robin for the foreseeable future, so buckle up.
Oh, I know. I'm in the minority.
Yeah, because he's been around over 10 years now. But anyways, so let's go with that. Let's say Batman is 45-40.
Right.
So we're gonna, if you jump him to 55, then that means all the other characters are jumping 10 years, which would make Damian 25
or
24.
Yeah.
23. And it would make Dick Grayson in his 40s.
Right.
And then Superman, if you're like, let's say like we equate, I think Batman's a little bit older than Superman.
Yeah.
But
even still, even if they were the same age, the only one you have to really measure is Lois's age, right? The people that they love, the people that they're with.
Yeah. So this means Lois is now in her 50s.
Yeah.
You know, this means because, you track your appropriate age. Because John would be now, well, I don't know with the whole age up thing they did.
Because now like 15. He's 17 now, so he'd be 27.
So he'd be 27. Yeah. He'd be 27. He'd be basically what his dad is kind of now, what his dad is in year one.
That's
sort
right.
Of. Like, yeah, I don't know. Like, I will say the one thing I do like about this timeline that has been hinted out there.
Yeah.
I like it and I hate it at the same time.
Right.
Let's talk about the idea of Wonder Woman being the first superhero in the DC universe.
Yes.
Now, because they're going to take the movie origin, basically. They're going to say she was in World War One.
Yes.
And then when World War II came around, I guess they're going to say that she maybe inspired the JSA and then she came back.
Exactly. Because I know that like they want to retcon in the JSA, or at the very least establish JSA is a thing. It was a thing. It existed in World War II. And, of course, Wonder Woman was a founding member of the JSA, so, like, what is she going to do there? And it would actually be a great way of cleverly retconning out that she was the secretary and instead making her a founding member. It'd be actually really cool if she formed the JSA.
Yeah.
And that she's like a steward of each super team as they go through the ages.
I like that, dude. I kind of like that.
Right? Like the idea that, like, maybe in, like, a retconning that like Wonder Woman found Batman and Superman and brought them together, which is an idea, by the way, that I've only seen recently in Superman Year One from Frank freaking Miller. So if Frank Miller can have that idea, it's that doesn't necessarily mean it's a bad one.
I mean, I'm not opposed to that idea. I kind of like that idea, to be honest with you. And Yeah, I'm okay with that. Like, that's the one thing about this timeline that I think is pretty cool.
Yeah.
So I know you have a giant list of other stuff. You want to dig into some of the other stuff?
Because they talk about how, like, what does 5G even mean? And it means that, like, based on, if you're connecting it to the DC timeline that is being written now, that really it's not a timeline of what's happened so far. Like, it's not like a timeline of now. It's a timeline of what's been happening in all the generations, or Gs. So you got G1, which is 25 years. You know, like, year one, we're going to establish with Krypton exploding, and then we're going to go from there. And, like, each year has a seminal moment that also encompasses what has actually happened in like, all of DC continuity, but you know, because it's the same people who did New 52 and Rebirth and pre-New 52, everything before that, like, they're going to muck with that too. But, like, we got Sergeant Rock, we got the JSA, we got Dinah Lance, Clark Kent, Alfred, all that stuff. Like, year 14 of G1 supposedly is Alfred Pennyworth is hired by the Wayne family. Like, that's
okay. Do you know, like, and they haven't said, like, what year? So is year one of this timeline, is that World War One?
Okay. According to...
I honestly don't know. If you don't know, that's fine, too.
According to the Bleeding Cool article, and I'll put a link in the description for it, but like, the Bleeding Cool article says, Generation 1, Dawn of the Heroic Age, 25-year time window, year 1, Krypton explodes. Rocket crashes in Smallville, Wonder Woman debuts, Steve Trevor lands on Themyscira.
Okay,
that all happens in year 1.
All right, so if that's year 1.
Yes.
All right. The Krypton thing is the thing that makes it interesting.
Yeah.
Because there have been past Superman origins where Krypton explodes in 1938, the year that Superman debuted. And it's the idea that, like, Clark took 50 years
or something. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, a wormhole, which I'm fine with. I'm cool. I actually don't mind that. Yeah. So but then that means that they're making that, which I'm fine, that they're making Wonder Woman a World War II superhero.
Yes, because they're saying that year 2, Jay Garrick debuts as Flash, Alan Scott, Green Lantern.
Okay, so yeah, we're making it a World War II superhero. But man, that's making Alfred real old if he's born in, like, the 1940s.
I agree. Oh, Alfred hasn't even. This is year 1. Alfred was hired by the Waynes in year 14 of Generation 1. So Alfred's super old.
Alfred's like my grandfather, dude.
That can't be, because then year 16, Thomas and Martha die.
So that means, okay, let's just, if we're using 1938 as our time, as our loose year.
Right.
That means
years later.
48 plus 6. Oh man, 1954 is when the Waynes are killed.
That can't be, because that means that Batman
is 8 in 1954. That means that Batman is currently older than my mom.
Right. No. So, okay, the timeline falls apart. Now, that's the problem with not releasing the timeline ahead of time to allow for internet scrutiny to fix it. But that being said, this is always...
scrutiny.
Now, this is all speculation, so we really don't know. But we are seeing...
Yeah, we don't know anything. We're literally stumbling around in the dark, everybody. Exactly. I'm looking forward to reading your YouTube comments on this one.
I know, about how wrong we
are. No, I actually won't. I won't read them.
Oh, no, it's not... No. I'll read them for you. I'll take that sacrifice. But, like... but no, like, this DC timeline, man, you see, I think it's a great idea in theory, but you can't be putting dates on these timelines.
Yeah. Like, well, if I remember right, too, from the stuff that, you know, Bleeding Cool is speculating about, they're saying the idea is that, like, Generation 1 is, like, the JSA and those people.
Yes.
And Generation 2 is, like, our main Justice League, like Superman, Batman, Hal Jordan, Barry Allen.
Yes.
And then Generation 3 is, like, from what I understand, the Teen Titans, like, so Dick Grayson and stuff, with a smattering of the 90s heroes. So, like, Kyle Rayner is considered part of Generation 3.
Yes. Well,
and so is Connor Hawke.
It's actually even more complicated than that, because, like, Generation 3, I think, is the 80s and 90s and the 2000s. It's like 3, because it's like they're saying that Death in the Family, Killing Joke, 0 Hour... the JL International is established, Identity Crisis, Infinite Crisis, Teen Titans.
Infinite Crisis?
Yes! Superboy dies, Wonder Woman kills Maxwell Lord.
Because Generation 4 is supposed to be the Young Justice people. Right? Am I right or wrong about that? Or no?
According to this list, it says Flashpoint was G4.
Oh, wow.
That like Wildstorm, Justice League, DC Rebirth, Dark Knight's Metal, Year of the Villain.
So it's all the new 50. It's post Flashpoint stuff of Generation 4.
Yes, the Generation 4 starts with Flashpoint and then ends with now, I guess.
Oh, so then Damian's appearance would technically be Generation 3.
Yeah, I guess it
So
would.
Generation 3 is fast.
It is. It's bloated, you might say.
When does Generation 3 start at Crisis on Infinite Earths?
Generation 3 starts with according to this, Justice League International. I don't even see Crisis. Oh no, Crisis on Infinite Earths ends Generation 2.
Okay, that tracks. Okay.
I would use
it
as an ending of a generation, yeah.
Yeah, it needs to be like a
beginning or an ending. It has to be a bookend.
Yeah, and then so Generation 3 goes from Crisis. So spoilers, everybody out there. I mean, this isn't really spoilers. This is my personal opinion.
Yeah.
Generation 3 is my favorite period of DC Comics.
Same here, absolutely. Yeah, are you kidding me? You got Keith Giffen and J.M.D. Mateus' Justice League International, Killing Joke, Death in the Family, Identity Crisis. Well, I don't really like Identity Crisis, but Infinite Crisis I really dig.
0 Hour, man.
0 Hour, but and herein lies the problem.
Reign of the Superman.
You grab your copy of 0 Hour and you go to the back of the last issue or issue 0. You may
have a timeline too.
That they have a timeline, and that timeline has dates in it, like when Martian Manhunter arrives and what year that is. I'm like, you've ruined it. It's already irrelevant.
Yeah. That's the nature of comics, man. Like,
yeah.
It also goes to the argument too of should all superhero comics just be continuity free?
Right.
Like, so should Superman, the Superman title, if you see Batman in it, it's maybe not the same Batman that's in Batman. And and who cares?
Yeah.
Who cares?
Well, that's certainly what the movies are.
Yeah.
I think that we can't afford to live in an all or nothing world where it's like it's either no continuity or all continuity. Like, I think if you're gonna do serialized fiction with an interconnected universe, you have a core set of books where that's happening. And it's worked a long time. If you want to tell a story about Batman and Superman that doesn't happen in continuity, you slap an Elseworlds label on it and you put it out. The end. I mean, like, and if that sells well enough, that's another universe, and you can tell those stories till the cows come home, until people stop buying it. The end. Like,
well, let's think about this. We've stumbled upon an interesting debate here.
That's true.
That your comment you're saying here.
Yeah.
Let's talk about this.
Okay.
So, DC, we got to think about why is DC choosing to do this, and the reason why I think is because, like in every interconnected universe, the continuity is becoming overwhelming.
Yeah.
And it's becoming overwhelming on both sides. The fact that the creators are finding it to be overwhelming, like where they're like, how does this fit in, and how old is everybody, and who does this? 5 Robins in 5 years.
They were bending over backwards before, and now they don't even bother.
Yes, but then on the other side, I think us as fans that are enjoying these DC comics, we're even being like, how does this fit in? Like,
totally.
Like, is there a crisis every month now?
Yes, there is.
So they're obviously, the impetus for doing this is not wrong.
No.
Like they're actually, like, they are reacting to that issue from both sides. And you brought up an interesting conversation. Let's have this conversation.
Okay.
Should DC Comics, should superhero comics, we can include Marvel in this.
Sure, why not?
Because should it have an ongoing continuity? Right. Should the characters age in real time? Or do you do this Forever Simpsons thing?
Yeah.
Where, like, they're always in the 4th grade? Because I will say, like, so Marvel obviously does the Simpsons thing, where Marvel's like, yeah, Captain America was unfrozen 10 years ago.
Yep.
It's fine. Tony Stark now got his heart ripped out, or his heart changed in Afghanistan. It's fine.
It's convenient for the Marvel characters because, like, America has never had a decade where they weren't fighting a war, so...
Yes. But it also makes it weird because now Captain America was unfrozen in 2009.
Right. That's fine. It's just that Captain America always fought in World War II, and he's always recently.
But I will say, in Marvel, I think it's, I don't know, man. I think they're getting to a point where, modern comic book storytelling right now, and especially in the big two, is all about these crazy events.
Yes.
The universe is collapsing and ending every 2 seconds.
Yep. We're in the event age. Yeah.
yes, we are. Like, we brought it back, sweet Jesus. And I thought we'd left it behind, and now we're coming back to it. But anyways, and I think it's these events that I think, and Marvel's doing an event every month, even more so than DC, I think. And it's creating this thing where you cannot do the Simpsons timeline anymore, because you can't just say, like, oh yeah, that was last week, or that was 2 years ago, because then it means that the universe ends every second.
That's true.
And DC is trying to do almost that same thing where, like, oh no, Superman's forever 33, but he also has a 10-year-old son, and he also has a this and a this and a this. Like, DC's trying to play it in real time and not real time.
Yes.
So let me ask you, right now, let's ignore all of comic book history.
Right.
DC has published Superman since 1938.
Yes.
Should Superman have aged in real time? And so, like, let's say he gets to the 1970s, he has a son.
Yeah.
In the 90s, let's say his son is Connor.
Right.
His son takes over in the 90s.
Yeah.
And right now, Connor has a son, and it's Jonathan.
Right.
Is that the better way to go? Because remember, and I know this is a very long question. I keep adding to it, and I apologize. Everybody out there is going crazy. We have had a comic book. We've had a couple comic books that have aged in real time.
Yes.
Invincible.
Right.
And the one that everybody forgets about, Hellblazer.
Oh yeah.
John Constantine was 50 at the end of those 300 issues. So what do you think? Is the idea to keep resetting the continuity, because that's what they're doing and it's becoming overwhelming? Or do you think it would have been more interesting if they just aged Superman in real time, and we're on the third Superman now?
Right. I think that, like, I think that there's no need Marvel and DC publish what, like 100 books a month. I'm not. That's a number I'm making up, but like
it's a good. That's
a crazy
steady
number. It's over 40, right? Which is I think 30 or 20 too many per month.
Yep.
I mean, you literally, like, when you're looking at the solicitations for books that are coming out per month, like every week, you're like, okay, there's 40 here from Marvel and 35 here from DC and 5 from Boom. You know what I mean? Like, wait, really?
And there's probably another 50 more from all the independents. Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah, and then like half that list from all the other guys.
Yeah.
But at the same time, the fact is they're publishing so many books. There's room for literally everything. And so I don't think I mean, like, if I'd grown up with a second generation Superman, obviously I would have affinity for my second generation Superman. So like
we have affinity. Do you have affinity for Wally West?
Right.
When I grew up, Wally West was my Flash.
Exactly. Yeah. So, like, and that's the thing that they were trying to solve, right? When they brought back Wally West in Rebirth, they're like, "You're welcome," and then Tom King's like, "No, fuck you."
But
at the same time, like, you love your generation's character. It's why so many people from the 90s love Tim Drake, but so many people who started reading comics in New 52 were like, "Who the hell's that?" or "Why do you care?"
Exactly. And it's why the 80s people love Dick Grayson.
Right. And it's like, because there's history there. And I think that you'd encounter the same problem you have now, because continuity happens regardless of your intent. So you see how it's like, if you'd only have more continuity, because it'd be, I mean, Marvel does this. You're talking about like a Superman who like grows up and gets old and dies and has kids or whatever, but like Marvel did that already. Marvel's never rebooted. So for them, like, it's just that the scale slid a little bit, you know, or a lot of it. But like Frank Castle should be in his 80s. Like,
I actually, to be honest with you, that's why I prefer that Punisher Max run, because Garth Ennis wrote him as a 60-year-old man, and I was like, yeah, that's exactly how old the Punisher should be from Vietnam.
Exactly. And the Punisher, no one is. I mean, like, you could tell a Punisher story where he's 70. I mean, because like I know a few 70-year-old people, and like they're still pretty spry. Like they could take out a lot of people if they went crazy, and you could tell that story with Punisher. You're not ruining anything with Punisher. And hell, Punisher is an inspirational character apparently. So like you could have multiple Punishers. I'm not saying that he's inspiring in a personal sense, but I'm saying like
No.
people dig Punisher, people dig Frank Castle and his message. So it's like,
Look, there's a character out there for everybody, but if you are inspired by Frank Castle, my friend, I urge you to seek counseling.
Right. What would Steve Rogers do? Not what Frank is up to. I'll tell you
exactly.
that. But I'm saying like you could make more Punishers. Like there's other, like Frank could be like the the kingpin of the Punisher verse or something.
Well, it's funny because and again, Sal, this is why I love talking to you, man. You stumble upon all these more interesting conversations.
Right.
Your point, I love your point where I agree that almost all of these roles could be adapted to other people.
Yeah.
With the exception of, I think there are 4 that can't.
That can't be replaced.
And that cannot be replaced. And I think, to me, I think the 4 are Superman.
Yep.
Batman.
Right.
Wonder Woman.
Mm-hmm.
And I would say Spider-Man.
Yes. I
think those are the 4.
I think that like Miles Morales fans would disagree, but I think that
fair point, yeah.
But you see, here's the thing. I love Miles Morales. I think he finally crystallized thanks to the movie, which is like too bad because I wish the comics had done it better. But Miles has not replaced Peter Parker at all.
No, he hasn't.
Like in terms of publicity, in terms of sales, in terms of popularity, like Peter Parker is Peter Parker, Miles Morales is Miles Morales. 2 different Spider-Men. He's basically a different character. And he's just called the same thing. And it's why it's worked. Like, it's why no one's complained. Like, why he's not called Ghost Spider or some other horrible nickname that they've come up with.
Yeah, Ghost Spider is so bad.
I hate that. Like, come on.
Look, I understand why you don't want to call her Spider-Gwen, but
she's not called that in the field. That's what the book's called. Like,
I know, but there's something about that title. I don't know. The Ghost Spider is so dumb.
Ghost Spider sucks. Like, that
just... They should just call her White Spider? I don't know. White Spider doesn't work either.
It doesn't work either.
What can you call Gwen? We need to solve this issue right now. Okay. This video is no longer about 5G. We're going to name Spider-Gwen.
Okay. I mean, you could use other names, like you could go with remember Julia Carpenter went from Spider-Woman to Arachne.
Arachne's not a great name, though.
I agree, but I'm just saying, like, you could use, like, Aranya was a character, but she became
Spider-Girl,
and there's nothing to be. She's called Spider-Woman in her universe, right? So
they should have just called her Spider-Woman.
She should be Spider-Woman, and the fact is, Jessica Drew, her book's always being canceled, so no one's going to complain if there's a volume 2 of Spider-Woman. Or
I'm going to throw it out there right now.
Yeah,
I don't like Jessica Drew.
Right. I don't know who that is. Like, I mean,
if you read her actual like comic books, go way back in the day.
Yeah.
She's been rebooted like 4 different times, and one of her origins is literally a giant spider the size of King Kong bites her.
Right.
And that's how she gets her powers. But anyways, Spider-Gwen should be Spider-Woman.
She just and I think that like it's just a rule of what sells better. Does Spider-Gwen sell better than Julia Carpenter or Jessica Drew? Then that's who Spider-Woman is. And then you solve that problem by being like, listen, the stories from Spider-Gwen are told in her universe. So she's called Spider-Woman, and when Jessica Drew has a book again, we call it Jessica Drew the Spider-Woman.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the book. So that when you're ordering your books, Gwen's book comes up under S, and Julia's book comes up under J. So there's no confusion, and there's no like numbering issue. There's no volume problem. It's not called Spider-Woman. It's called Jessica Drew the Spider-Woman. That's the book.
Yep.
And then and then everyone gets to be Spider-Woman because no one's buying it. The fact is, like, the sales don't translate, so it doesn't even matter. Like, you don't need to make it fit for other people. You're never going to get Spider-Woman working. You're never going to get Jessica Drew to be a name that children are going to buy toys of. I'm sorry.
No. But okay, so back to
your point.
Sorry.
Your point about like we can't replace Superman, Batman, and Wonder Woman. Well, get ready because 5G is going to replace those 3 characters.
Let's talk about them.
Yes. Luke Fox is replacing Batman.
Okay.
In a Batman Beyondian kind of way.
All right.
What a weird choice. There's a lot of options you could have done, especially if you're going to age up everybody. Hey.
And you can tell that James Tynion is planting the seeds of that. When I read his first issue of Batman, which I liked, you could tell, like, as soon as Lucius Fox is sort of Batman's new ear, I was like, it's weird. Again, we have no confirmation about any of this. Nope. This is literally speculation about speculation, which is the best kind of internet video. Anyways, when I read that, Luke, or when I read Lucius in the new issue of Batman that came out a couple weeks ago, I was like, oh, Luke Fox is definitely Batman. This is how they're leading to this right here.
Oh yeah, oh big time. And wasn't Luke Fox also Batwing?
He was Batwing, actually, in a really cool costume. It's like they sort of gave him like an Iron Man bat suit, but it's a great design.
Right. I think we're in Riri Williams territory again, where it's like Riri Williams. Well, no, because you know what? It could be worse. They could be making a new character.
You know, that's I don't know who's replacing Wonder Woman. I have no idea.
I don't either. And that's another thing. That's like
is that none of the speculation of who's replacing Wonder Woman?
They said that she's undergoing the change first. That like hers will be the first character to be replaced under 5G, in accordance with the Bleeding Cool rumor mill.
Yeah, with the rumor mill.
Now, obviously, I'd want it to be Donna.
I've read some speculation, and I don't know if I read this on Bleeding Cool or I don't know if I read this somewhere, but the main characteristic, and I'm not current with the Wonder Woman books, is the reason why I can't name a character that could replace Wonder Woman.
Sure.
I swear to God, I read something somewhere, was that the idea for replacing all these three was to, like, you know, to flip the table.
Right.
To get the headline.
Yes.
And I had heard that this was going to be an LGBTQ character.
If they
I'm not reading Wonder Woman, so if there's a character in Wonder Woman right now that is that, I don't know.
Then get ready to see them become Wonder Woman.
Yeah, get for them to be ready. Because the thing about Luke Fox is kind of a dark horse pull.
Well, like, why didn't you just use Duke?
Well, Duke hasn't been in that book in a while, man.
No, but Snyder's a mover and shaker in that area.
Sure.
They never really did anything with him. His Signal book didn't sell.
But it's funny because you can tell, like, if they think about it, I just realized this. If we're putting Luke as Batman, think about that headline. Batman is now black.
Oh, absolutely.
That's going to be the headline. Like, we're going to see that headline if this is all real. Yeah. That's the headline.
Well, for me, the cynic in me
and Luke
says,
is a great character, by the way, too. So.
Oh yeah. Well, the cynic in me says that if that's the case, if it's like we got to grab headlines, then that is the, like, where's our Miles Morales? Where's our
perfect analogy
group of people who are clamoring for their version of one of our Titans? This is a
version of a lot of people will compare it to this. This is a version of that. Was it all new, all different Marvel now? Basically, the era where Thor became Jane Foster, became a woman. By the way, everybody complained about that. That Thor run is great.
A lot. I mean, like, yeah.
It's so good. It's probably
ended recently. It's a pretty dope book.
It honestly is probably the best Thor run of all time. It really is.
Yeah. But, like, they changed Thor, then they made Sam Wilson Falcon Captain America, and they made Riri Williams into Iron Man. Like, listen, I'm sure that you got a lot of fans out of that, right? I mean, obviously, the fact that Jane Foster became Thor was just an element of Aaron's Thor run. You know, I don't think that was necessarily much of a stunt as much as it was just like, and then I'm going to make Jane Foster Thor. Like, that was just an idea he had that he wanted to execute.
I wonder if that sort of kickstarted it.
Right.
Like, I wonder if Jason Aaron was like, you know, I honestly don't know, but there's probably an interview out there.
Yeah.
I wonder if he was like, I'm going to do this, and then the editors were like, we should do this for all the titles.
I actually have a more cynical theory about that, and it has to do with the fact that Marvel doesn't have as many editors as DC, and the fact that Marvel is notoriously cheap. I think that there were so few editors working at Marvel at the time.
Okay.
That Aaron was like most editors would have caught or noticed, hey, we just changed the Trinity of Marvel all at the same time. We can't do that.
We shouldn't do this.
So, and I think that it wasn't because people are like, you know, people made literal YouTube careers out of saying like Marvel is pushing this agenda and they did this, and this. And it's like, I don't think
that is true.
I would not credit Marvel with that kind of coordination.
Okay.
I would say that it was more like Aaron's like, when Aaron said, I'm going to make Jane Foster Thor, he was met with either like agreement or disinterest, you know, or indifference, I should say, where it's like, sure,
Okay, all right.
knock yourself out. I don't care. You know how many books I'm trying to friggin' edit? Like, you know how many spelling errors there are in this book? And
Nobody reads Thor, you know, like
yeah,
something
nobody
like
reads
that.
Thor. Who cares? Like, I can imagine that being the conversation, and Aaron going like, "Hey, Nick, you can do anything. Like, no one's paying attention. And if you want to do this now, now's the time. Like, if you want to do this down the road, you should do it now instead." And they just threw everything at the wall. And the editors were like, "Knock yourself. You want to make Sam Wilson Falcon? Okay, I don't give a shit.
Whatever."
Yeah, right. And I think that, like, it just became a thing where it was just like, and then someone at the top was like, "Did you just literally change everybody? We should call it a thing."
At the same time, yeah,
we should call it a thing. We'll call it all new, all different.
All new, all different. Yeah.
Yeah, I think that it was just I think the creators knew what was going on. I think they kind of coordinated with each other and said, like, let's just do it. Let's just do it. No one's paying attention. Let's do it all.
You're probably exactly right. That's probably, you know, we like to think that comic books are, you know, and actually, you know, movie studios and television is the same way. We like to think that they're super coordinated and all stuff like that, and they're probably just accidents, all happy accidents, and that's fine. You know, there's nothing wrong with that. Most creative decisions are happy accidents. All right, so I want to talk to you about Superman.
Right.
It's the most obvious choice. The Bleeding Cool says it's going to be Jonathan Kent.
Right. That's like the best decision about John I've seen since making him. Like, because aging him up, I think, was a horrible idea. But if you're gonna,
I agree. I don't like him old.
No, but if you're gonna do that, make him Superman. I want to see. The problem is, I don't like Bendis' Superman, so I don't want to see So his like, I don't know what his John is, right? I've read a couple of issues of John, and I'm like, ugh. If Tomasi was writing Superman via John Kent,
sure,
I would buy it immediately, and the reason for that is because I would be like, oh my god, I want to see what if Superman and Lois's lessons worked. Like what they did, how they created. Like, is this going to be a better Superman? Like, is Superman a good father? Did he make a good Superman?
That's interesting. Now, I want to bring up a different point because so far, John is the most obvious choice,
right,
for Superman. Luke is kind of a weird left turn, and
they're all because like Wonder Woman, we have no idea. It could be nobody. The Green Lantern one, it might be Teen Lantern. I don't know.
I see. Now, what I read on the old internet speculation thread is that it is the new Green Lantern from Far Sector.
Oh my god. Okay. All right.
I like that book.
Is there a second issue of that book?
Yeah, it came out.
Okay, good. Because I didn't even see it. I read the first issue. I was like, this is dope.
Yeah, I like it. I love her costume design. Yeah. She's basically Janelle Monáe.
Right.
Which is fine. But I like how it's funny because I think you talk about editors not paying attention.
Right.
You can tell that no editor is paying attention to Grant Morrison.
Oh,
and by the way, I love The Green Lantern with Liam Sharp and Grant Morrison. It is secretly the best book DC is publishing right now, and nobody's buying it because they all. This is a weird thing. This is like a bias that people have.
Mm-hmm.
Liam Sharp's art style looks
divisive.
It looks like the 80s and 90s. But I'll tell you what, he's a damn good artist. And that art style is so uber detailed that it reminds me of like 80s Vertigo, and I love it. I love it. Grant Morrison is secretly rebooting the Green Lantern mythos, and nobody is paying attention.
Well, it's funny because you're saying nobody's paying attention. I think you're right that like most people aren't buying it, but like everyone I know, and that's including colleagues that I work with, are like, I hate this book. It is ruining everything. Like,
love it.
John's fans loathe this book because it is throwing out everything.
Or do you dig it, or do you hate it as well?
It's more like I'm just not a Green Lantern fan. So if you're gonna do like whatever in space, knock yourself out. I thought for me, the most enjoyment I had of it was the shade he threw in Black Stars 2, where he was like, "Hey, Bendis, you repeat your panels and have a lot of dumb dialogue. Hey, Snyder, that Perpetua is a really bad idea. Hey, John," like I'm like, "What are you doing?"
Yeah, Grant Morrison, like. like you can tell, like we talk about like there's a lot of there's a lot of writers out there where there's that argument where fans love to pull out where you're like the editor is not touching them at all.
Right.
You can tell like no editor is touching Grant Morrison. One, because I don't know if they can understand the scripts, or two, it's just like he's Grant Morrison.
I'd heard that he has a clause that says he's not allowed to have an editor.
Good, because he's Grant Morrison. Look, the thing I love about Grant Morrison, this is the reason why he's one of my favorite writers of all time.
Yeah.
And it's also the reason why Grant Morrison, his things are either fantastic, you either love them or you hate them.
Yes.
He takes big swings.
Right.
He always takes big swings. And I guess I'm the type of writer and reader that I would rather read a big swing than boring same old, same old.
That's true. That's funny, actually. That's something that I remember talking to Scott about that a while back. And he said something like, I know how to tell the stories most people want me to write. I could do a cool story where a three-parter where Batman fights Mr. Freeze, and Mr. Freeze wants to save Nora, and I can make it heart-wrenching and cool and give you a lot of really neat stuff. But that's not something I want to write about. I want to do the big thing. I want to take the biggest risk. I could give you a Scarecrow story. I don't have a good one, but I could come up with one in a few minutes, and it would be pretty cool, and people would love it. But that's not what I'm interested in doing.
But I will say the opposite argument to that, and that's a great, and that's why Scott has the career he has. That's a great mode to have. I think the other side of that is the far side, and when you take the scale too far, is that when I say big swings, most fans think I mean big universe cosmic ending events.
Right. Like
that's not what I mean. Exactly. It's not what I mean.
No.
The multiverse should not end every issue.
I know.
No. What I mean with big swings is a big swing storyline could be, what if we told a Scarecrow story and the Scarecrow teamed up with Batman? Right. We've never seen that before.
No, it's true. And they both operate
that's a big swing.
It thematically works. It's a
yes.
Yeah.
That is what I mean by big swings. With big swings, I mean like just something that's different. It doesn't mean that the universe ends every 5 pages, which is what comic books have sort of become.
Well, what's
especially
funny is,
the big two.
You know how you remember Justice League or JLA written by Grant Morrison? It was just a combination of those two things where he's like, what if there was an evil Justice League? Not the crime syndicate. Like, what about this? And then it turned into a bigger thing, and his ideas, of course, are far-reaching, so it's like, just because he had the idea doesn't mean it, just because he didn't mean for it to get big doesn't mean that it didn't spiral out into, hey, I just invented White Martians. Like, hey, I did this thing. Like,
if you notice in Grant Morrison in his JLA run, which I think is the best Justice League run of all time, his cosmic ending event only happens at the beginning and at the end.
Mm-hmm.
And everything in between is like, he brings up the Injustice Gang.
Yeah.
He does a alternate reality story.
Yeah.
He does the JSA, where they meet the JSA. But they're not all the multiverse is going to end every 5 seconds kind of thing. I understand that like thing, and but that's what I mean with the big swings. And I guess that goes back to my point of Green Lantern, is because in every issue, if you read The Green Lantern, Grant Morrison is writing Hal Jordan it's a case of the week book. It's a cop book, which is exactly what Hal Jordan is.
Yes.
He finds a new alien, he finds a new thing, blah, 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 blah.
Mm-hmm.
But there's a scene in there where it connects to the overall, and then every issue sort of rewrites. Advances the thing. And he's telling us Green Lantern stories we've never seen before, and he's taking big swings. Like, he's going to reboot the Guardians. Like, the Guardians are no longer going to be old; they're going to be young.
Right.
And I'm like, oh, we've never seen that before. That's great.
That's true. That's true. I mean, like, and I admire that. It's funny because, like, it's very youthful and it's a great idea. Like, I've never seen that do that, but I'm also like, I don't know. I never believe the news I hear when I first hear it, and it's like, when it comes to that kind of thing, I'm like, that's true. I've never seen that. Do I want to? And with Green Lantern, I don't have a dog in that race. I'm not going to argue with that. But like,
Sure.
when it comes to the big swings and that kind of thing, like I'm like, right on, I hear you. But like when you're always swinging for the fences with your writing,
Yes. You got to bunt.
Going to
you gotta
burn
bunt
out
sometimes.
faster. What's that?
Yeah. You got to sometimes do some bunts.
You got to bunt. You got to tell a little
Sometimes,
story.
Sometimes you got to hit a grounder and just go to first. Sometimes that's all we need.
Well, and maybe and you know what, like and it's the same way if you're playing ball or if you're writing a story, and it's like if you always are telling about how like Perpetua's throwing a goddamn planet at you, like
Oh, is that a thing?
Oh, it's the last issue. Yeah.
Okay, I didn't read it. I'm sorry.
Oh no, don't. But like Perpetua threw a planet at Earth or something. You know, it's just like it's the biggest, most bombastic thing, and I don't think that every issue is like, oh, it's the biggest thing ever, and I feel like Snyder hasn't burned out because he gets to write things like because he still has a clause with Image where it's like, nah, I'm gonna write a little witch's story. Like I'm gonna tell a little story about that. Like he can take a breath. And exercise himself, and that's I don't want to just focus on him, but like the fact is, if you're only writing,
and it's not just him. It's and it's not even just DC. It's Marvel's doing the same thing too.
Oh yeah, Marvel. Well, their universe needs a breath. Like Marvel needs a year where everything just calms the hell down.
Yeah.
And it's why, like, it's funny. Well, and for me, like, that's my favorite thing. I missed the scene in the this is a throwback, but in Superman Returns. I missed the scene where Superman gets shot by the minigun. The scene that everyone couldn't wait to see, where Superman because I had to go to the bathroom and I left, but I was so thankful that I didn't miss the scene where Superman and Lois are on the roof, because that really got some because that's some juicy stuff that actually mattered. I was like, oh, and that's the kind of comics I like. You know, that's why I'm a Bendis fan, but not a Bendis Superman fan. You know, like, it's just those little things. It's why, like, when Marvel and DC were getting along, and they were like, let's make all these crossovers, I was like, ooh, Batman Daredevil. Like, ooh, little stuff. Like, JLA Avengers is amazing. And I know that, like...
and that's big comic, cosmic-y. That's, like, similar to the stuff we've been talking about. But it is great.
That's the thing, though. Perez wouldn't have done it if it wasn't the biggest thing ever. Because he knows, like, I don't have time. Like, they're never gonna say yes to this. Like they're gonna pull the rug out from under us halfway through. And there's actually a great timeline that Wizard kept, or that Perez wrote, but
published. I remember that.
Yeah, Perez kept a journal of his time writing JLA Avengers, and he's like every month or so he's like, they're gonna cancel it, they're gonna pull it out, they can't agree. Like they made me change the costumes for a third time, but like. JLA Avengers is we're merging these two universes, and it might be the last time we're ever going to do it again. And in fact, it is. But like, we haven't done it since. Right, but if Marvel and DC separately are doing JLA Avengers type stories every freaking month, not only are you going to burn out your creators, but more importantly, you're going to burn us out. And I'm burned out. Like I'm not burned out of comics, but I'm burned out of these stories where I'm like literally. The DC universe has been dictated by Snyder since whatever, like since like Dark Knight's Metal. Dark Knight's Metal, biggest thing ever. Oh my god, holy crap. Then Justice League, oh my god, holy crap. Then Dark Knight's Metal 2, oh my god, holy crap. Doomsday Clock, oh my god, holy crap. Like it's nonstop, and it's been changed. And I get that, like, maybe they're getting money up on the front end, where it's like people are like, yeah, it's the biggest thing ever. But like, if everything's the biggest thing ever, then nothing is. Like,
then nothing is. Yes, it's the Avengers Endgame argument. Every Marvel movie can't be Avengers Endgame.
No, you got. That's why I'm like, when they're like, what are we gonna do with Spider-Man 3? I'm like, do a small story. Make it cool. Just make it cool. It doesn't have to be big.
I would love to finally see the neighborhood Spider-Man, because we've yet to see that in MCU.
Well, and that's the thing. You've gotten
Iron Man Jr.
You've literally, for me, you've gotten everything right. You got Peter Parker is perfect. The costume looks awesome. The universe is solid. He's against the backdrop of the Marvel universe. I'm in. When is he going to go to New York, web swing, and fight a regular guy, or a crazy jackass who was a scientist? Like that's all I want. Like that last scene from Far From Home where he's swinging with Mary Jane, where they're like, I'm like, this is it, and I know
one of the best scenes in the movie.
Yeah, I'm like, that's it. I've gotten it. Like I just want that all the time. But you know, that's because I'm a hardcore Spider-Man fan. But I don't know
what. So let's put this. Let's wrap this into some last thoughts here.
Please,
what do we think overall,
Yeah, with 5G.
What are your predictions of 5G here? Like, do you want? Let's. I'll give you some questions here, and then I'd love to hear your thoughts.
Yeah.
One, do you think it's a good idea?
Right.
Two, do you think it'll work? Like, will it drive sales?
Yeah.
And then three, how long do you think we live in the 5G universe? Because we lived in Rebirth for what? Because I would say we're out of the Rebirth era.
It's over.
So that give us 3 years.
Yeah.
How? Okay. So how long do you think?
Heroes in Crisis came out? Heroes in Crisis killed Rebirth. Like that's the last.
Yes. Yeah. Also, we need to bring up the big elephant in the room here because I think you're fooling yourself if there was never a conversation for. Why are we calling this 5G? Well, because AT&T is going to introduce it in 2021.
Really? You think that's it?
Oh, dude, come on!
That makes me sick.
I mean,
just search algorithms. Like when people are googling 5G, we'll have gotten on the ground floor.
Corporate synergy. I mean, the thing about calling it 5G.
Wait a minute.
More so than calling it the 5th generation is because, I mean, think about it. Like T-Mobile is introducing 5G like right now, as we speak, and they're like the first company.
Yeah.
So by 2021, they're all like, I don't have any inside information, but AT&T bought Warner Brothers.
Yeah.
They own Warner Brothers.
Oh my God.
5G is a cell phone term.
That makes me
There is a possibility that this whole event came about because AT&T was like, "Hey, we need a storyline
that has that name in it, like
that has that name in it."
That
and now
sucks.
Again, I have no information.
No,
but that conversation that has to be in your head somewhere.
I mean, like, well, for me, the only reason I'm convinced that's exactly what happened.
Sure.
But devil's advocate, does Warner's / AT&T really care about little old DC Comics? Like, I'm shocked that they're that influential.
Well, I don't know because we don't know how 5G is going to affect the other departments.
Right.
Yeah. And to be honest with you, the only reason why we know about 5G is because Bleeding Cool is throwing it out there. There is even a chance that 5G might not happen now.
Well, no, like there's the art. Like there's art for 5G.
Oh, is there?
We've seen old Bruce Wayne in the cave. Like money.
I'm just saying, like Bleeding Cool leaking this stuff might have changed a lot of it too.
I think that cosmetically it will, but I think at the core, nothing.
Okay.
Like, you know what I mean? I can't imagine that the guys at DC are like, they called us on everything. It's all out. Well, change a couple things to make them look like morons, but really don't change whatever we're doing. Like, don't change the trajectory of what we're doing. But that sucks. Okay, so that actually hurts me like on a profound level. But when it comes to like 5G and whether it's a good idea,
how long do you think it'll last? Like, how long till we switch back?
A year.
Oh, really? That short?
Yeah. No, I think it'll be a year. And here's why. Because that's how long their ideas for universe-changing events last.
Mm-hmm.
It's 52 weeks. Like, Future's End, 52, Countdown. It's all 1 year.
Mm.
It's all weekly. I mean, it won't be weekly, thank God. But, like,
yeah,
I think it'll be a year. Because I think how long did All New All Different Marvel really last?
Well, I mean, it depends on whether you count. Well, because it started with Marvel Now,
right?
Yeah, and then it became All Different Marvel, all different.
All New All Different Marvel was like barely an imprint. It was more just like a picture of all the new characters showing up, and then,
they just kept adding words to that Marvel Now logo.
I know, yeah,
yeah.
I honestly think that DC is going to do it for at least a year, but I feel like that'll be the end of it because 5G, if it really is a coordinated effort between AT&T and Warner Media to like...
And again, I'm just, it might not...
I know, but for me, when I hear... Okay, this is an age-old proverb. I don't know who came up with it, but I'm going to attribute it to the Vulcans. Because
A fictional race, yes.
A fictional race. But like revenge of the dish best served cold, a Klingon proverb. Really?
Yes.
So I'm going to give it to the people in Trek. But and I know it was a human being from our reality. But like the fact is, if ever you see something or if someone behaves in a way that is contrary to logic and reason, ask yourself who financially benefits from that decision.
Mm-hmm.
And it will immediately click. Like, you will go like, okay, that person's doing this thing, and I don't understand. They've never done it before. They've never said anything like that. They would never do that. There's no reason for them to do that. It actually hurts us. But if they make money from it, does it make sense suddenly? Yes. Yeah. Then it's invariably true. Rebirth was critically and commercially successful. Everyone enjoyed it. Doomsday Clock finally effing came out.
Was it successful?
I think it was successful.
No, financially, I don't know.
Oh, I think it was. Yes, I believe it was. I've looked this up, and I remember asking people about this. Like, I think it was not New 52 successful, but like few things are. But as I understand it, like in terms of trade sales and in terms of like, monthlies, unless of course you count like the downward spiral of the Tom King Batman run, but like everything else was pretty much selling well. But like. Yeah, the other thing is there's really not enough data to back up whether or not it sold well, because like how long did Rebirth really last? Like how long before Tomasi was kicked off of Superman and Tom King got to do Batman and was really taking it in a direction that financially wasn't going to work? And those are the two main books, and Wonder Woman was just in a state of limbo on a constant basis.
Yeah.
But it would make sense with Doomsday Clock ending for you to dovetail into whatever the next direction is, which is not 5G. If you read the end of Doomsday Clock, 5G is mentioned, but like that ain't the direction that this book is going.
No, they start mentioning like all the secret crisis things, and
I thought that was kind of cute because they're all just like winks about how it's like comics are cyclical, and Johns gave us 10 years. He's like, maybe in 10 years we'll be able to do a crossover with Marvel again. Like, I liked that, like, kind of nod. It depresses me that I'd have to wait another 10 years for Marvel and DC to finally realize that, like, if one publisher closes, the other one will close too.
Yeah.
But I think that was all just kind of like cute winks and nods. The 5G stuff, like, well, just like, I think in issue 2 or 3, I don't remember which issue, but like in Doomsday Clock, they mentioned Heroes in Crisis, they mentioned Sanctuary, and they shoehorn in the Court of Owls. I think that was, it's taking too long. We're not going to do that anymore.
Yeah.
Put in the stuff that we're going to do instead to make it feel relevant. To remove any deniability that Doomsday Clock could be its own thing. But I think that, like, instead of it dovetailing into wherever Rebirth was heading and wherever Doomsday Clock was going to set us up into, they're like, no, we're going to do this. That sounds like a combination of ego and corporate meddling. And that can only get you so far. And I think that, like, particularly because there is nothing 5GE about the current run of DC. Like, there's nothing in any DC book that says, like, hey, wouldn't it be really cool if we just threw everything away and replaced everybody? Like, there's nothing...
Yeah, there's not really a feel... Sorry to interrupt you. There's not really a feel of, the generation that's going to take over.
Right.
Like, you know, like that, if that Green Lantern from Far Sector is the Green Lantern, there's nothing in the book, or even in the Hal Jordan book, that suggests that she's his replacement.
Not at all. Nor is there any indication that, like, that would be a refreshing thing for everyone. No one's talking about, like, the Titans and how, like, there's no conversation between the Trinity where they're like, we need to train the Titans harder, or we need to, like, bring them in, or we need to
retire.
Right. Or, like, aren't you getting tired?
Yeah.
Like, when is this going to end?
There's none of that.
There's no indication. So I feel like it's a hard handbrake saying, like, we're going to do this now. And it's so artificial that I think readers are... It will sell
it's going to be a new 52 break, dude. Like, we're going to have our titles up to the month.
Yep.
And then, like, it's just going to be like, boom. And you're going to be like, what? What is this? What happened to Superman?
Right. Like, I think Tynan is in that boat where he's like, I'm taking over Batman as an interim writer until...
Yes.
And I've heard that the guy who wrote 12 Years a Slave is going to take over Batman.
John Ridley.
Yes, but John Ridley will take over Batman.
Great writer.
Yes.
If you ever get a chance to see him at a convention, he doesn't really do conventions. Fantastic. Do you remember when they announced his Secret History of the DC Universe?
Yes.
God, I was so excited for that book.
Know.
I think I sadly think this 5G killed it.
Oh, totally.
Yeah.
And I think maybe the carrot is like, we're gonna keep you. Here's Batman.
You get Bat. Yeah. Which is a good carrot.
Sure, but I feel really bad for Tynan because like that it's like yo, I don't care what you have to say about Batman. I just need somebody who's gonna come in and write Batman until we fucking do this 5G thing.
Yeah.
But Tynan's like, okay, but for the next 15 issues, I get Batman.
Mm-hmm.
Like, but I get Batman for this time, and I'm gonna do the hell out of Batman. And
yeah.
It's like, good for you, man. Like, way to make lemonade.
Yeah, run with it, dude.
Right, do everything. Do it.
And his first issue, I liked his first issue.
Oh, I liked it too. I mean, Daniel, I'd take somebody else, but I hear somebody else jumping on board. But like, but I like what he's doing, and I think it's a great direction. But like, it's going to be sabotaged by 5G. I feel like the surge, like Black Batman, Gay Wonder Woman, and I don't know, Captain Cold as a speedster.
Yeah, that's the one where you're like, why? We haven't even seen that guy in years. Like, the other rumor is that, Captain Cold's speedster son, who I didn't think existed post-Flashpoint.
Right? No, but he just got some powers
back
recently, so I was like, well, there you go.
Is he in any of the books?
I think they just shoehorned him into one of them.
Okay, cool. All right,
right, exactly. But, like, those are going to sell. It's going to be like, but, like, I think that they're going to be like, yeah, that sold initially, but at the end of the day, DC fans want DC books. They want the books they've been reading.
Rebirth proved that DC fans want meat and potatoes. And meat and potatoes is Clark Kent Superman. It's with a secret identity.
Yes.
It's Batman with, whatever.
With a Robin. Like, we need...
Yeah. And
I think that... Well, and I've heard that maybe they'll do something with those characters in another thing. I tell you this.
Oh, you mean like we might have the classic adventures in these other titles.
I'll tell you what, 5G, if you're going to do 5G, if you want to like keep a creator who's like tired or listless or done or wants to go to the other guys, but a good time to launch the ultimate DC universe with Batman, Superman, and Wonder Woman with Clark Kent, Bruce Wayne, and Diana.
Well, dude, and I've said this before on Elseworlds. I said this for years.
Yeah.
I thought if you really wanted to make the New 52 matter,
right,
it needed to be a hard reboot.
Yeah.
Every character was like you say nothing happened.
Right.
Nothing.
Right.
And it's and I would have put all these characters in about year 3.
Yeah.
And the only reason why I would do that in year 3 is because I want Batman and Robin.
Yeah.
But Dick Grayson is 10 years old.
Yeah.
Like reset it all. Like
right.
All of these and then when you do Justice League 1, you do exactly what they did. It's like, oh, this is the first adventure of the Justice League because all of these heroes have been around for about 3 years now and they've never met.
Right.
And again, if you're going to hard reboot it. And yes, it would happen like the Ultimate Universe. It would be a lot of creators retelling some of those old stories, but it's
who
like,
cares?
If you're going to hard reboot.
Yeah, right. Well, and at the same time, and the only concern you might have is like, you put Jeff Loeb on something.
Sure. Yeah.
Because Jeff Loeb ruined the Ultimate Universe.
Yeah. I mean, and like, but I don't know, man. Like, yeah, it is funny because it's one of those things where, and I think we've talked about this before, and business reasons and stuff like that. Like, to me, I agree with you. I don't think 5G is going to last very long.
No.
I think it'll get their initial push. It'll get some big headlines, and then it'll go right back to where it was because none of this is motivated by a story reason.
Exactly. There's no creativity here. It's all just stunts. It's more of the same.
Which is why we went back and talked about the best example of this is the Jane Foster Thor. The reason why the Jane Foster Thor storyline worked And the reason why they're making it into a movie is because it was motivated by a story reason of Jason Aaron. Like, he was going to do that no matter what.
Exactly. That wasn't an initiative. That was just what he was going to do in the story. You're right.
Exactly. So, like, if there was a story reason for Luke Fox to be Batman,
right?
Like, let's say this. If the next year of James Tynion's run, I don't even know when 5G is going to happen. I'm just going to say,
I assume by issue 100.
Yeah. Which is how many away? 15?
15, like 14 issues.
Okay. But does Batman still double ship?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Anyways, so let's say 5G happens at the beginning of 2021. I honestly don't know. If we spend the next year, if James' storyline is Batman getting tired,
right,
or Batman kind of being like, "What am I doing?" and Luke starts popping up in those books as Batwing, and sort of being like, "No, Batman, like you've done enough for this city. I got you.
Yeah.
And if you do that for the next 8 months, then when Batwing does, or we do the time jump and Batwing is suddenly Batman, then it would work.
Right.
But the problem is that you're going to have to do that for every, or some version of that for every character in the DC universe.
I promise you they're not going to do that.
And they're not going to do that.
There's no way.
But
that takes
if you did that, if you did that for every character, it would work.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
You know, but they're not going to do that for every character.
No. Oh God. I mean, like, you know, no, you're right. Like, that's exactly right. It's just, I think that's where they're headed. I think that it'll make a lot of people pissed. And what's even more tragic about it is that Doomsday Clock finally ended, and it like set things up for like a new status quo that's like, hey, here's something you might really enjoy, and it'll really please all the DC fans. When 5G is ultimately regarded as a blunder.
It might not be.
I think
but it
critically it will be a blunder. I think that like they'll go, I mean, like, listen, you know, John Ridley wrote a hell of a Batman, but it wasn't Bruce Wayne, and ultimately nobody bought the damn thing. After the first issue, I think that they're going to have to scramble yet again to come up with a kind of
reset,
a phony reboot, a phony rebirth, if you will, because they're going to have to engender themselves to the old DC readers, and that's just what Rebirth was. So they're going to have to come up with another Rebirth, and they're either going to have to like beg Jeff Johns to do it all over again, or more likely ask Bendis to do it.
It'll probably be Brian Bendis,
right? And that's not anything. Like, that's not anything anybody wants. And,
well, the other thing about that is that as far as I know, well, again, we don't know, because again, we're all speculation.
Yes.
As far as we know, Brian is just going to write the John Superman. Like, he's not going anywhere.
No, he's just going to transition from what he's doing now to now it's John being Superman. Of course, we also forgot. Oh, that's right. I forgot about the crisis that's coming.
Oh, what's the crisis that's coming?
Apparently, well, rumor has it in 2020 there will be another crisis, and that crisis
is Metal 2?
No, I think Metal 2 is something else.
What? How many crises do we need?
Well, no, Metal's not a crisis. Metal's metal. That's something else.
Metal's a crisis. What? There's another crisis coming?
Yeah, there's another crisis.
You know what, Sal? I think the only option to this is that there are just too many crises, and I think the only solution here is that we need to reset the universe and put brand new heroes in their roles. And I'm going to call it something like, I don't know, Fifth Society. How about that?
Oh, Fifth Society. Okay, there you go.
I think it'll sell. Black Batman. Let's do it.
Right? I'm telling you, I think Ultimate Universe, Ultimate DC needs to be the thing they need to do.
Do you remember, by the way, everybody, Sal loves them. I love it as well. Wizard Magazine.
Of course.
Remember back in the day when Wizard Magazine hired a bunch of artists to draw the Ultimate?
Yes, and it looks just like Earth 1.
But their storylines were actually really great.
I agree. Oh, yeah, no. You can Google that. Somebody scanned them all. I saw them on like a Reddit post a while back. Like, they're out there. Black Commissioner Gordon, which we're getting in the movie.
I don't know. I think we've put the fifth generation to bed.
I think you're right.
And I think we've all decided that we're going to buy the DC timeline, and there you go.
I can't wait to see the timeline. I think that.
Yeah. I hope it's a giant poster.
The multiverse is a poster, right?
Yeah, I have it. Yeah, the multiverse map from Grant Morrison.
When you flip it over,
It's white.
oh, it's white. That's too bad.
It's white. They didn't print it black. Nobody prints a black-sided poster.
No.
It's wasted ink.
I was pitching that idea to somebody. I was telling them about the dark multiverse, and he goes, and I'm like, and so Kendra flips over the multiverse map. He goes, "You mean like in Stranger Things?" And I'm like,
Did Stranger?
Yeah.
Did that rip off from Stranger Things, or does Stranger Things rip off that?
No, Stranger Things was first.
Oh, okay. Wow.
Like, oh my god. Yeah.
There you go. And nobody. Again, that's why everybody. I think the lesson of this episode is that editors are important.
Yes.
Because a good editor would be like, "Hey, that's from Stranger Things. We shouldn't do that."
Well, unless it was like, "Hey, can you do like a thing from Stranger Things?" Like,
yeah.
I don't know if it's the chicken or the egg for that one, but
Yep.
we'll have to cover that another time. Listen, hey, ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for listening and watching. Before you go to the description, click on JupiterJetComic.com and check out Jupiter Jet. Jason,
There's no dark multiverse in it.
no, it's all bright and fun, but still with trips and trials and tribulations. It's a lot of fun.
Yeah, and like again, it's an adventure comic book that is simple and fun for everybody, because that's what comic books should be. JupiterJetComic.com. This one's called Jupiter Jet and the Forgotten Radio. Find out what the Forgotten Radio is, because it's a 17-year-old girl with a jetpack, and she's punching robots, and it's a fun time.
That's dope. Jason, thank you so much for joining me again and putting up with my ramblings. I will.
No, dude, I rambled as well, and I think this is the first. We're in the first generation of Elseworlds Exchange. I'm excited to see what the second generation is.
Oh my god! Yeah.
Thank you for having me.
We're past 3 years. I guess this is 3G.
Yep.
I don't know.
Is the 4G puppets?
Right? I think so. I gotta get some.
I think next year, 2021, Puppet Elseworlds.
Puppet Elseworlds. I love it. I'm in. Thanks a lot for watching. We'll see you guys next time. So long, everybody.